Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 3. Get ready for expert analysis and rising wrestling stars. Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Hey everyone, this is Ken from Ken's Corner, and I'm excited to be back with another one of my wrestling family. Tonight, all the way from Richmond Hill, right next door to me here in Stouffville, my friend, professional wrestler Ace Cannon. How are you tonight, Ace?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's really warm out these days, but you know what? It's going to get even warmer, Ace, as we get down to the final days of before Stouffville Slam starts, and that's going to be quite the event. And we'll get into that a little bit, but we're going to take us back in your career and tell me what drew Ace Cannon to want to be a professional wrestler.
Well, to be honest, I do struggle when it comes to remembering my past because of my disability. So over the years, my dad has given me some notes to help me remember certain things. And one of them is about how I got into pro wrestling. So I was 11 and I saw a show called Saturday Night's Main Event. And the first match that I saw was Trish Stratus and Mickie James versus Candice Michelle and Victoria. And after watching it, I fell in love with it.
Mm.
However, I didn't watch wrestling a couple years after that because my dad wasn't really into pro wrestling and he thought that it was too violent for me. So when I was 13, I got more into it and became a huge fan. Then in 2011, I decided I love this. I definitely wanted to do this. So my dad and I were looking for pro wrestling schools, and at the time, there really wasn't much around York region or in Toronto until we found a place called Squared Circle Wrestling, which was ran by Rob Fuego. And he actually trained a bunch of TNA knockouts, including Angelina Love, Taylor Wilde, and Hall of Famers Tracy Brooks and Gail Kim. He was also really good friends with Edge as well. So I trained there for 3 years, and it was a great experience. But unfortunately, his business closed down, and I was out of wrestling for about 3 years. Then someone who I used to know there told me about a place called Hamilton Pro Wrestling. After convincing my dad, we drove out to Hamilton to look at the place. I met with the trainer, Rip Impact, and after talking with him for a few minutes, I knew this was the place where I wanted to be. He was so supportive, very knowledgeable, and he has worked with people with autism in the past. So I've been with HPW ever since.
That's amazing. Rip Impact, big shout out to Rip. I know he's a busy man. I'd love to get him in here as well. But yeah, that's you've had a great trainer. And to be honest, you kind of remind me of Rip. You have almost the same looks. So I just want to put that out there. Now we're going to move on just a little bit, Ace. We're going to talk about your ring music and what you wear to enter the ring.
Well, I definitely wanted to use some sort of music from video games. And it was honestly very difficult because there's so much incredible music from gaming. So instead of choosing one, I took 3 and I put them together. So it starts out with the opening from Pokemon Red and Blue from the original Game Boy, then the opening to Pac-Man, and finally, the boss battle from Sonic Heroes. It's definitely one of my favorite Sonic the Hedgehog songs of all time, so I definitely had to incorporate that into my theme song.
That's amazing. And what do you wear when you go into the ring? Excuse me.
Well, I was talking to Rip Impact about creating my gear, and he pointed out that a lot of wrestlers wear sort of the same colors. You see a lot of reds, blues, black, whites, and those are great colors, don't get me wrong. But I wanted to do my best to stand out. So I asked him, what colors do you not usually see in pro wrestling? And he said orange and green. And I thought, that's what I'm going to use. So for the pants, they're all green. And I have my name on the side. But I replaced the letter A with the Triforce from Legend of Zelda. And on the other side, I replaced the letter C with Pac-Man.
I see that. That's really amazing. My next question.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's
When it comes to the shirt that I wear as well, sorry to cut you off.
no, that's okay.
I have the controller because I'm the gamer, so I had to put that in.
Mhm.
I'm also a big fan of Pokemon, so I put the Pokeball in the center. And probably the most important part of my gear is on the very back. I have the words autism acceptance because I do have autism. And while I do think it is great for people to be aware of what autism is, nowadays I think it should be more about accepting people with autism. And because it means so much to me, I had to put those words on the back of my shirt.
That's amazing. Thank you for cutting me off because I wouldn't want to not have that part of the story. Thank you so much, Ace. And you're right. Acceptance is a big thing, and let's strive for it every day. And it's amazing what you can do out there in the ring. I did watch you, but we're going to talk about gaming because you keep talking about gaming. And my 14-year-old son, he would agree with you wholeheartedly on the Pokemon, and he's also a Fortnite fan as well. But let's elaborate a little more on your passion for gaming.
So I fell in love with gaming for as long as I can remember. I'm pretty sure it was my cousin that got me into it. Because he has told me on multiple occasions that the very first game that I ever played was Toy Story Racing for the PlayStation 1. I've played so many games over the years, and I have so many favorites, including Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, Sonic the Hedgehog, and so many more. And some of the things that I love about gaming is the way that gaming looks, the many different styles of video games. I did mention the music a bit earlier. I love the music in so many games.
Yeah.
I do love that gaming does help people when it comes to their hand-eye coordination. It helps improve that. And on days when I'm very stressed, gaming does help me de-stress. I do actually have a very interesting way of looking at gaming. And if you think about it, video games are kind of like interactive movies. So for example, if you're playing an adventure game, you start the story mode and you see a cutscene, which is pretty much the beginning of the story. And it does look like you're watching a movie. And especially as the years go on, the cutscenes look absolutely amazing. But then when the gameplay starts, you're controlling the main character, taking the character to the first objective and then the next and the next, from the very beginning to the very end. I think it's just a really fun way of looking at video games. So because I have a huge passion for gaming and a huge passion for pro wrestling, I wanted to combine both of them. And that's why they call me the gamer.
That's an amazing story, Ace. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to talk about Stouffville a little bit because you are a native of Richmond Hill, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Now Stouffville's your backyard practically. What's the feeling of being able to wrestle in these events Now coming up to the second Stouffville Slam, what is it feeling for Ace Cannon to be involved in this event?
It's really good to wrestle close to home. Don't get me wrong, I love wrestling in Hamilton. There's so many great crowds and so much great history of pro wrestling in Hamilton. But it's absolutely so much fun to wrestle in York Region. And if I could play any part of hopefully getting more fans from York Region to watch live pro wrestling shows, it would be incredible, because unfortunately there hasn't been a lot of events here in York Region until Gunnar Lang created his promotion, Pro Wrestling Standoff, and I'm so honored to be a part of his roster. So I hope in the future that there will be more wrestling in the York Region area.
Yeah, I hope so too, Ace. Let's give up the prayer hands for that, and I can't wait to see you out there rocking in a match. What is it that you're doing? What are you performing that night, if you don't mind me telling? I mean, if you don't mind telling us, what match are you performing in next Saturday night in Stouffville?
No, that's okay. I'm in a Lucky 7 scramble match, and the winner will get the opportunity to fight any NWS or PWS champion. I don't want to look too far ahead, just because I really want to put as much focus as I can to the match coming. And I just hope that I win the match.
Yeah, you know what? You go out there and perform, Ace Cannon, and anything can happen. I believe in you, and I'm sure your fans do. Now, that's where I'm getting at now. Let's find where we can find Ace Cannon. Let's tell all your adoring fans what your social media outlets are.
Sure, I have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and I have a YouTube channel called TG AC Productions. I do Let's Plays of video games. I show highlights of my wrestling matches. I do top 5 lists. And I do have a series that is in the works as of right now, because I want to release it when my channel hits 50 subscribers. As of right now, it has 42. So hopefully by the end of the year, I will hit that goal and I will announce the new series.
That's amazing. I'm glad that you had a chance to announce it right here on Ken's Corner. Now, I'm just going to leave the floor open to Ace Cannon. If there's anything that I haven't asked you, or anything that you would like to talk about here today.
Well, I first want to say thank you to all of the amazing wrestling fans that have supported me over the years. It means the absolute world to me. I also want to give a shout out to Rip Impact for supporting me from the very beginning. I also want to give a message to anyone out there that has autism. If there is something that you love to do, or if you have a dream that you want to accomplish in life, even though you have the disabilities, if you put in the effort and you work as hard as you can, there is a good chance that that dream can become a reality. And finally, I want to say thank you to you, Ken, for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. I really do appreciate it, and I had such a great time.
Thank you so much. You're a natural, and I expect, and I think you're going to be in a lot more podcasts in the future, Ace, and I'm lucky enough to get you this early. So I appreciate your time here today, Ace. My name's Ken. I'm from Ken's Corner, and I'm here today with my friend from Richmond Hill, professional wrestler, Ace Cannon. Have a great day, Ace. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.